In 539 BC, the most powerful king in the world walked into the ruins of Babylon and made a decision that would echo through 3,000 years of history. He freed the Jews. He told them to go home. He told them to rebuild Jerusalem. Why? That question, it turns out, is one of the most interesting puzzles in all of ancient history. Welcome back. Today we're doing something ambitious. We're going to try to understand how the Jewish people came to exist in the form we recognize today, not as a story of divine destiny, but as a story of geopolitics, exile, and the pragmatic decisions of great empires. To get there, we need to understand how the ancient world actually worked, and it worked nothing like we're taught in school. The first thing to understand is this. Competition between nations is not usually what drives historical change. What drives change is competition within nations, specifically elite overproduction, too many powerful people competing for too few positions of status. When you have that situation, you get instability, betrayal, and eventually someone breaks the rules. And the person who breaks the rules, who refuses to respect the established equilibrium, is usually the one who ends up on top. This pattern shows up everywhere. In ancient Mesopotamia, the city-states of the Tigris and Euphrates had been engaged in highly ritualized warfare for generations. It wasn't real war. It was managed conflict designed to keep everyone in their place. Nobody attacked temples, nobody stole gold. The rules were clear and everyone followed them because the people at the top needed the equilibrium to survive. Then a man named Lugaza Reisi decided the rules were stupid. He started sacking temples, he started taking real wealth, and suddenly the whole system destabilized, opening the door for a mercenary leader named Sargon of Akkad, Sargon meaning legitimate ruler, which historians note is exactly what someone who isn't a legitimate ruler would call himself, to walk in and build the world's first empire. The outsider who breaks the rules doesn't just win, he creates the new rules, and that pattern never stops. Now, into this world of shifting empires, Akkadian, Babylonian, Assyrian, Egyptian, sits a small strip of land in the eastern Mediterranean called the Levant, modern-day Israel, Lebanon, and Syria. Strategically, it is one of the most important pieces of real estate in human history. Whoever controls it can threaten Egypt, Mesopotamia, and Anatolia simultaneously, the three wealthiest regions of the ancient world. Jerusalem sits in the middle of all of this. For most of their history, the Israelites found themselves squeezed between these competing powers, each trying to control the Levant as a strategic buffer. The empires tried different tactics. They burned the northern kingdom, they took hostages, they deported thousands to Babylon. None of it permanently stabilized the region. The Israelites kept rebelling, and eventually, around 587 BC, Babylon simply destroyed Jerusalem and its temple. This is the moment the Israelites as a historical people effectively ceased to exist, at least in the form they had been. Without the temple, the entire religious system they had practiced for centuries was gone. They were in Babylon. They had no land, no king, no altar. And yet, instead of disappearing, they transformed. They invented the synagogue, a portable institution of worship that required no specific location. They produced what became the Hebrew Bible. They asked the hardest questions. Why has God abandoned us? What does it mean to be us if we have nothing? Out of exile came something more durable than anything they'd had before. Then Cyrus the Great arrived, the founder of the Persian Achaemenid Empire. He is one of history's most genuinely remarkable figures. He conquered by mercy rather than terror. Where the Assyrians had specialized in brutality, Cyrus specialized in tolerance. When he took Babylon, he didn't sack it. He presented himself as a liberator, and he announced that displaced peoples could return to their homelands and practice their religions freely. For the Israelites, this was the edict of Cyrus. They could go home, they could rebuild. The Bible tells us God commanded Cyrus to do this. Historians offer other explanations. The Israelites who had spent decades in Babylon had become some of its most educated, most capable administrators. Their religious tradition demanded literacy, debate, rigorous reasoning, skills that made them exceptionally valuable to any empire that needed competent bureaucrats. Placing this literate, loyal community back in the strategically critical Levant as a Persian client state was, from a purely practical standpoint, an excellent move. Was it divine instruction or political calculation? The result was the same. A new Jewish identity was constructed, part ancient heritage, part Babylonian exile, shaped by Persian patronage. The Jewish people who returned to Jerusalem were not the same people who had left. They had been remade by history. And that new identity, portable, text-based, not dependent on any single land or temple, capable of surviving anywhere, would prove to be one of the most durable constructions in all of human history. The lesson isn't just about Jews. It's about how adversity forges identity, and how the powers that think they're controlling a small group are often, without knowing it, creating something they cannot control at